This is Carl Polachuk, and you're listening to the SMB Community Podcast, produced by and for the Small Biz Thoughts community. We're dedicated to making every IT professional a successful IT professional. Welcome to another SMB Community Podcast. This is Carl, and I have a very special guest today. Amy Luby is the Channel Chief Evangelist for Acronis. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Carl. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. This is fun.
So Amy is a longtime friend of mine and of the community. So and you're central to organizing this event, as far as I know, right? We're talking about the Acronis Summit 2020, which it just weird stuff in 2020. Turns out to be like the last big event of the year. Like, I don't think there's anything after this.
Yeah, it feels like it, that's for sure. It's coming. It's so our Cyber Summit, this is our second annual. So we just kicked off last year, and this year is turning out to be, actually, even though 2020 has been super weird, so far, you know, there's been a ton of interest. We've got a lot of registrants today. I think we have actually, they sent a thing out yesterday. I think we have 6,800 partners registered today.
6,800.
Yeah, registered.
Right. So as long as we're at that, let's give out the website. Where do folks go to register? Is it just acronis.com or /summit or?
There's the main URL is summit.acronis.events. So you can go straight there. You'll see the agenda, you can register, and by the way, it's free, so there's no fee to join us. It starts on the 19th, so it's just little less than a week away.
Woohoo! All right, and we will put that link down below in the show notes for folks who are listening on various podcasts. So summit.acronis.events. And so you have a 3-day event. Give me an overview of each of the 3 days. Like, is one for sales and one for marketing and one for tech, or how does it organize that way?
Yeah, so the format is pretty traditional. Day one is what would normally have been a pre-day, right, where it's mostly technical. So a lot of training, a lot of certifications. So we have at Acronis, we have several platforms, probably most well known for our cyber backup and disaster recovery platform, and then our flagship platform, Acronis Cyber Protect, which is a security platform. But so a bunch of training on day one. So that's the 19th on Monday. There's a kickoff keynote in the afternoon. And then Tuesday, Wednesday is where we get into the different tracks. Now we have several types of partners, if you will. We've got our service provider channel, if you will. That's where we all fit into, Carl, you and I, and all the MSPs and the service providers and whatever the different monikers we go by. And then we have ISVs, we have developers, we have distributors, we have several other types. So but for me, I'm in charge of the service provider track. So that track is all around delivering content and training for our partners to build bigger, better, stronger security services organizations. And that's why we invited you. So one of the tracks that you're doing, right, is to help our partners understand how to effectively reorganize their business to be able to sell modern services in a modern way.
Right.
And you can do better and let people know. But these workshops, like the one you're leading, are live.
I looked at some of the marketing and the people who are going to be here. It's pretty amazing. I mean, you have a very impressive group of people. So I'm honored to be one of the people who gets to provide some content for this. My event, we'll do it quick and then get it over with. But so my event, I literally put together a slide which you may disapprove. I'll show it to you before the event, but I start out by saying, turn off your phone, turn off the second monitor, pay attention. This is not a blah, blah, blah thing. I finally get 90 minutes, which you almost never get, to do a real workshop. So, take lots of notes and make real changes in your business, because there's very few opportunities when we get to literally work on our business. And events like this are an opportunity to do that. And so I'm not going to, I don't think anybody's going to give the same presentation they've given 100 times this year. It's completely new stuff.
It is. Everybody involved is bringing new content, new training, stuff you haven't seen before. So, you're right. We've got your workshop. It's a good night. Actually, you have a little over 90 minutes. And that was just a scheduling thing. But we also have, we have well-known MSP experts in the channel. We've got Amy Babinchak. She's going to talk about building a security-first services organization. We have Rayanne Buchianico. She's going to be here to talk about finance and how you manage your finances. What are some red flags to look for? And I heard she's even going to ask you, bring your P&L, bring your balance sheet and your cash flow statements, because we're going to go through that stuff and show you how to use them on a regular basis to make sure you're achieving the profit, the net profits that you're looking for. We have Erick Simpson. He's talking about moving your business to the cloud and all the complexities there in doing so. Who else? We've got Larry Walsh. He's going to be talking about how do you attract the right clients and how do you utilize the right pricing so that you can achieve those margins and achieve the right client base that you're looking for, right? Because we've all struggled with that, for almost, well, the MSP channel has been in existence, I guess, technically for almost 20 years now.
Right.
Yeah, and every day we hear people asking, how do I price this? Do I bundle? Do I not bundle?
Well, and that question has lived forever. I think I mentioned to you one time that I stumbled onto the original Yahoo group a while back, and accidentally went and I thought that I thought I'd accidentally gone back to day one, because people were asking, how do you price this and what tools are you using? But that is exactly the conversation today, and it's moved to different platforms. But it's there. This is fresh stuff, because we live in a world where the ground keeps shifting, not just in 2020, but every year in technology, something new is invented. And if you bought a laptop and opened it up, you wouldn't recognize half the stuff that's on the inside, right? Because it's completely different from 5 years ago. And but that's true with our software. It's true with the environment we're in, the businesses we serve. I just had somebody send me an email and asking a question, and I said, hey, you know what? This is outside of the norms of our organization, but it's because of the generational shift, right? The people who are in this business are, think about it, they have to be different than they were 20 years ago. And so what you did before can't work today. Every single thing is different. And so continuing education is huge. So
well, and fundamentally, therefore, this type of training, these workshops, the content, all of it has got to evolve, just like the channel's always evolving. And that's what's so exciting about it. We used to argue in the very beginning, what's the definition of an MSP? And then we argued about whether cloud was real or not, and cloud is real now, today. It has been for, depending on who you talk to, 5 to 8 years. Virtual machines, that was like an argument. Is that ever going to happen? Well, that's all that's happening now, right? And then, this talk about digital transformation, which has been going on for a number of years. Well, all of a sudden, pandemic, boom, we have transformed, right? We are now post digital transformation into, I hate using some of these terms, but the digital normal.
Right.
And that's where we're at. And it seems like, it feels like some of these things that we used to discuss and evolve into that took years and years and years just kind of happened in a day this year. And, now, we've, for the past maybe 3 years, have been talking about security and, do we become an MSSP versus an MSP? Do we partner with an MSSP? How do we learn and evolve our business model to contain this thing called protection and security? And here today, like if you don't know where you're going, you're really behind the 8 ball. And that's what this Acronis event is all about. The Cyber Summit is all about cyber protection. So whether you're an ISV, an MSP, a distributor, it doesn't matter what type of partner you are, you will find something at this summit that will help you transform your business today. And that's what's super exciting about it.
One thing that's interesting about that is if you think about doing a deep dive for 3 days, where that's all people talk about, you literally will get a sense of, okay, what would it look like if I was a security first organization or security only organization or security centric or whatever. Because so much of the time we talk about that in isolation as half an hour in a 12-hour, discussion. But this is all about cybersecurity. And I think your hashtag is CyberFit, or at least that's what's used for the Academy, CyberFit Academy. So
yeah, no, CyberFit is the main hashtag for Acronis. And like I said, I think we're most well known for our backup platform, which has been around for almost 20 years. And our existing partners know the security features, if you will, that have been built into that platform for a long, long time, probably 10 years, our AI and machine learning that protects the data that's been backed up. But what partners know less about is our cyber protection platform, which is actually a single console, single agent that brings together 7 or 8 or so different security point solutions, if you will. That's what I call them. So, your advanced malware protection on the endpoints, vulnerability scanning with integrated patching, remote control, security scoring. So a lot of these features that we tend to buy as point products and try to make them work together have all been built together into this cyber protection platform, which solves a huge operational efficiency problem, if you will, within our MSP organizations today. So, things are different and we have to approach things differently. And that's what CyberFit is all about, right? It's equivalent to, taking care of your own body physically. You can't just talk about eating well or exercising. It becomes part of your lifestyle. So cyber fitness also becomes part of your lifestyle within your own organization to provide the best protection that you can to your client base.
And literally, there's no topic that's more important today than cybersecurity. I mean, the most recent story from last week is that if you pay ransomware, you're breaking the law. If you pay the bad guys, the government will come after you. So you get the double whammy of being out the money and then being on a list of people who have transferred money illegally to these certain organizations. And, clients have just have to be throwing up their hands and saying, what do I do? And you've got to have an answer. You can't go in there and bolt together a bunch of stuff you found on the street. You literally have to know exactly what you're proposing, how it works, and how you keep the client from having to deal with those kinds of things at all. And, some people believe that everybody's eventually going to get hit. Well, if that's the case, how will you get them back in business? Not in 2 weeks, not in 1 week, but the same day, in some cases the same hour. And you got to have a plan. That doesn't happen by itself. So I was going to say, one of my favorite futurists for technology is a guy named Daniel Burrus, and he talks about how all of the technology for the next 5 years has already been invented. It's just a little bit out of reach, not quite practical, doesn't have a good application, so forth and so on. And so your comment about us, going through all this transformation and instantly everybody's working from home, it's because all that technology was ready to be deployed. And in many ways, our industry is lucky that we got to be the deployers. Like, this is your one time in your career where you get to be the right place at the right time with the right skills, totally nailed. Because we've been doing remote work for a dozen years or more, some for a couple of decades. We understand virtual, we understand security, and it goes a long ways to be in that position. But that doesn't mean you're secure for next year or that you have the skills that you need 2 years from now. So we can't rest on our laurels just because we were in the right place at the beginning of the pandemic.
No, you're spot on, Carl. Of all the partners that I've spoken to this year, maybe one or two have talked about struggling, but those handful, weren't up to date like what you just described. They didn't have their clients in the cloud. They weren't proficient in remote technologies, remote management technologies. They weren't addressing security even at a basic level. So there were some things that they weren't doing and they were caught off guard. Majority of the partners I've spoken to were well prepared. And maybe they had one or two clients who had really resisted going to the cloud or resisted, we'll call it modern technologies, if you will, for lack of a better term. And those one or two clients all of a sudden got religion, right? And said, yes,
Exactly.
Move me, I don't care what you do. Yeah. So the scrambling, if you will, that was done was literally more of a physical move and a physical setup in these home offices. And we didn't touch a lot, there was, like you talk about, MSPs were perfectly poised for remote deployment, let alone remote management of these technologies.
Right.
So, now we kind of have a little bit of a breather. Everybody's been settled, if you will, for the most part. And now it's time to really turn to, okay, this crisis exposed some of my gaps. How am I going to fill those gaps? What is that going to look like? And what is the modern evolution look like today versus yesterday? And literally yesterday, like not just last year or
well, the folks that you had mentioned already, Amy and Erick and Rayanne, they're all encouraging people. Now's the time to start talking to your clients about what's next and what's new and what do we do from here and how do we get you back in the office, or are you going back to the office? And if you're not going back to the office, what's the plan for that? And all that roadmap stuff. And so you need to have good information in order to have those conversations with your client. And you can't be selling a 12-year-old solution. Oh, we'll get you back in the office and we'll get you a brand new server. And right, like I think a lot of clients for the first time are going to see, oh, I get what you mean by we don't have to have a server, because we've been at home and even if they have a server, it's back at the office alone by itself in a closet. And it could be in a cloud. If it's not going to be close to me, it doesn't matter where it is. So I think clients are getting it in a way that they didn't before.
Well, and I think a lot of those clients had to go through with their MSP partners, if they did have a physical server back in the office, that office was closed. So even the MSP couldn't get in there. Right. And so this migration, if you will, to cloud, if they weren't there yet, happened because they basically had to take whatever backups they had and push them over here and restore into some sort of cloud infrastructure. And again, MSPs were perfectly poised to do that. They're proficient in doing those things already. It wasn't something they were having to learn and then do. It was a matter of, okay, we'll get you all lined up. We're going to organize this migration and we're going to do it.
Right.
So that was as stressful as this year has been. Having been around as long as I've been, it was fun to watch. Because the MSP channel really shone at this
Yeah.
point.
Well, I have said a few times and written it down. I mean, that we actually did a great job this year. And we need to, I don't know about spending a bunch of time patting ourselves on the back, but acknowledge, I mean, because if our industry had fallen on its face, the world, like the Western civilization, would have fallen on its face. And that's
Literally.
not an exaggeration, Things are bad enough when you can't go to any restaurants. If you can't run any businesses, man, or, think about if we've gone through this 25 years ago when nobody was remote and nobody knew how to be remote and so forth. Let me change subjects because I want to make sure we cover a few things about the event. So
Okay.
There are some keynotes. Give us a heads up. What do we expect on the keynotes?
Oh, well, we've got some fun keynotes. The one I'm most looking forward to, just because I'm channel centric, is we've got Jay McBain. He's going to come talk to us about the state of the channel, right? And I got a little sneak peek into that, so it's going to be super interesting, and I'm really excited about that.
Always good stuff.
We have several other folks coming up too. One of the first ones we've got is Rene Bonvenis. So Rene has been around in the channel for a very, very long time. And has been an executive at some of the largest companies in the world, Palo Alto, SAP, Veritas, Oracle. He's going to talk about disruption and cybersecurity and the disruption that's happened over time, but the specific disruption that's happening right now. So it's going to be really cool what he's talking about. And then, of course, we have our executives, Sergey, our CEO, is also going to talk about the future of cyber protection. So, just like what you and I have been talking about here, Carl, what can we expect going forward? Security is the most important thing that any of us in technology can be thinking about today. So what's it going to look like tomorrow, next year, in the next couple of years? So between the two of those cybersecurity experts, we're going to get some good information about what's coming, what it looks like, and how we can be prepared to take advantage of new technology.
Very few things that scare me, but the future of cybersecurity is one of them. Because the bad guys are getting so powerful. They've got so much money now. And I'm glad somebody has a full-time job of looking to the future and trying to figure out what they're going to do so you can get there first. And, when we talk about the spy versus spy stuff, the cybersecurity folks at Acronis are one of those groups that has to be looking at, if I were an evil guy with a bunch of money, what would I do to attack the world, right? And stop it from happening. So.
Well, yeah, and you think about today, gosh, just a couple of weeks ago, I saw in the news, we've had our first reported death because of a cyber attack in a hospital system in Germany. So there was a woman that was in an ambulance. She got routed to the wrong place because basically systems were down. And because they couldn't treat her fast enough, she didn't survive. So, I mean, this stuff's real. Like, it's not just about losing pictures and losing Word documents. Entire IT infrastructure systems are being brought down. And this is big business, and this is life or death anymore.
Right.
It really is. So we can't just sit on our laurels. We've got to be prepared.
So there's the keynotes, and then a cool thing you're doing is kind of the newscast version in real time of, okay, here's what's next, and here's what we just saw, and actually doing, you've got a third-party analyst to help you out with that, and have some of us pop in and do commentaries on other people's presentations and stuff. Talk a bit about the newscast side of this.
All right, so envision how they broadcast the Olympics, right? So you'll be watching TV and all of a sudden the reporters, if you will, pop up on your screen and maybe they're interviewing one of the athletes or whatever. And they're talking about what just happened, whatever the event was, right? And who won. And then they're going to talk a little bit about what's coming so that you kind of know. So it's literally like that. So we've got a whole production company, and the fun part is, you know, you'll be on there. We've got Dave Sobel from MSP Radio. He's not only going to be part of that broadcast, but he's also bringing MSP Radio to our event. So he'll be coming in, he'll be talking about what's happened. He's going to give us the why do we care about what just happened.
That's his
So
signature. Why do we care?
Yep. Why do we care? So, you know, as serious as cybersecurity is and how prepared we must be to protect our clients, we also are going to have a lot of fun with this event. So the whole live production there with, you know, Dave and his Why Do We Care segments, all of our experts coming on to, you know, speak a little bit about who they are and what they're doing, and then pointing us to you know, the different events, if you will, that are going to take place right after that. It's going to be a lot of fun. We also have the IT Channel Lounge, which is staffed, if you will, by all of our experts. So you'll be in the lounge at certain times. Amy will be there. I'll be there. We've got a lot of folks. Dave will be there. So we'll, you know, not only will you be able to join your workshops and get hands-on with folks like Carl, Amy, Eric, Dave, Rayanne, but you'll be able to kind of kick back with them too in the lounge and just relax. And I heard you're wearing a lounge jacket of some sort.
I have a maroon brocade lounge jacket. So I will be wearing that on camera in the lounge. So.
Well, I also heard that Erick Simpson might be trying to one-up you there. He's got a lounge jacket of some sort too. So it should be a lot of fun.
As usual. You know, what's interesting is I go through, you know, I printed out the agenda and I started to highlight the interesting events. And this is no exaggeration. Like the first page is like everything is underlined. I'm like, crap. That's if everything is bold, nothing is bold, right? And so it's really impressive how there's, you know, nothing personal, but there's almost nothing about how to use Acronis. This is all about the business side of things. You know, what are your plans? You know, how do you grow your security business? How do you make security a focus? How do you get new clients? Luby, I think it's Gadima, is talking about marketing, right? And you know, again, I always love to hear Larry Walsh's perspective and Dave Sobel's perspective and James Bain's perspective, and you know, so there's literally news and commentary, a lot of business strategy stuff. You know, that's what you know, in these workshops, that's what we're all about is, hey, this is real world stuff. This is not, you know, the philosophy of how you do a P&L. And Rayanne is going to say, no, you know, print out your P&L. Tell me what those things are. And, you know, how did you get that number and where does it come from? And she's really super good at that. So anyway, I'm just super impressed with how much of this is not techie in the sense of how you use the technology. It is about the business side of the business. And, you know, as Michael Gerber always says, you know, you got to stop working on your business, stop working in your business so you can work on your business. And this is 3 days of that, I guess.
It's literally by design. I mean, and, you know, that's what our partners have told us. Look, we love the training, the techie stuff. And of course, that's table stakes, right? You've got to know how to use the technology in order to leverage it for your clients. But, you know, what about pricing? How do I make money doing this? How do I build a business for the long term? And what does that look like? And if I'm more technically bent, how do I read a P&L? Like, what's supposed to be in there? What are the line items? And where am I supposed to put things? How can I use a cash flow statement to tweak on a daily basis where I'm going so that my monthly, quarterly, yearly revenues are where they should be and my profit margin should be? The technologies have changed, and just like you mentioned earlier, that they're constantly changing. How do I keep track of that and inject this security first posture into my business? And one of the things that's so striking to me is, we've built the MSP model on the idea of being proactive, right? And in the very beginning, it was all about network management and being proactive in that. Let's worry about uptime, right? And that was primarily the goal and the focus. Well, protection is the goal and the focus today, but it feels very reactive anymore, right? We're just reacting to something after the fact. So how do we get proactive again in building our model? And that's what you and Amy are talking a lot about that. How do we stop the madness and how do we build this proactive foundation so that we're actively protecting our clients and not just reacting to bad things that already happened?
Right.
So yeah, that's what the summit is all about, how to build a bigger, better, stronger business.
And sometimes it's hard to say, oh, let me just tweak this and tweak that and get where I want to go. Sometimes you have to make really big steps. So I do think that's what both Amy and I are helping people do, is like, don't take small steps. Let's take a couple of really big steps. And the other thing is, this is October 19th, 20th, 21st. So it's literally almost the end of October, only 2 more months left in the year. And then you got 2021. And like, this is the beginning of your next year, right? This is the beginning of whatever success you're hoping to put together next year, because next year will be difficult. I think it'll be more difficult for MSPs than 2020 was, because things will continue to drag out, and the economy, who knows where it's going to go. And so, but anyway, this is a great way to start the next year with the Acronis education and really stepping up cybersecurity. So we encourage folks to go to summit.acronis.events, sign up. It is, in fact, free, and I think it will be a truly amazing event.
I hope so. It's really turning out to be. And one thing I do want to mention, for those workshops, there is limited seating. So if you have any inkling that any of these workshops might be helpful for your business, get in, get registered, and grab your seat, okay? Because I'd hate to see anybody miss it.
So you look like a genius only because you're the one who brought these workshops to the event, and then it turned out to be they were way more popular than they had anticipated they would be. So
yeah, they are, and I'll share with you after this call. I mean, all of your workshops right now are pretty packed. They're pretty packed. I just got a list this morning, so it's going to be interesting. But yeah, I mean, the whole concept of these workshops was, let's go back to the days when, we were doing smaller events for MSPs, and we'd have these pre-day workshops where everybody would get in a conference room and we'd get hands-on with how to do this, how to be an MSP. So that's the whole concept of this is let's get small groups together. Let's get some of the greatest minds in the MSP channel to lead these workshops, and let's give everybody an opportunity to actually interact with these folks, ask the questions. Don't worry about being nervous that you don't have the right answer or you haven't done the right thing, because this is the time, like you said, this is the perfect time to take a moment, step back, work on your business, make the changes that need to be made so that 2021 can be a great, great year. It's a perfect opportunity to do that.
Very good. Well, Amy Luby, Channel Chief Evangelist from Acronis, thank you for joining us today, and we will see you on the 19th.
Awesome. Thanks, Carl. Looking forward to it.
Thank you for tuning in to the SMB Community Podcast. If you found this useful, interesting, or fun, please subscribe, share with your friends, and give us a thumbs up on your favorite social media. Please check out the show notes at smbcommunitypodcast.com and give us your feedback.